Hello and welcome to the show. So today I have probably the ultimate challenge you can really get with the Nurburgring, because I'm going to try and beat the lap record set by Stefan Beloff with the Porsche 956. The record stands at 6 minutes 11.13. and I'm going to try and beat it. Now, my vehicle of choice today is the Mazda 787B. Unfortunately, the Porsche isn't in Forza 5. Neither is there anything that is remotely close. This is the best that I can do. The Porsche, I think, is from the 80s. This is in the early 90s. I think they're Group C cars, I think is what they were called. I don't have anything closer, basically, to use. So I'm going to go with the 787B. Also, I very much like this car. It sounds fantastic. Scary, scary car to drive, this one. But if I'm going to try and go for the record, might as well go with this one. The Formula 1 car is a little bit too easy, too straightforward. We may come back at a later date and have a go with that. Now, I'm going to start off by saying I am not a huge fan of these, or the P-Class cars now in Forza. I don't race this sort of vehicle very often, if at all. In fact, I tend to stick with the A, B, C-Class cars, sort of more touring car style vehicles, occasional supercar. That's just what I find more fun to race against other people, so I don't spend very long driving these LMP sort of prototype racing vehicles. So it was a bit of an experience getting used to driving one of these, and it certainly took quite a lot of time to get the hang of this around the Nurburgring. We head on to my fastest lap. The opening section is one that's not really a huge amount of problem for most cars, but it is with the Mazda. Now, this is a very, very quick car, and as you can see, it goes absolutely flying down here. However, it does, or I should say, I sometimes struggle with this car on the lower speed corners. You get very used to the high speed stuff where you're flat out. Through here, though, it's second and third gear corners. It's so easy to do something stupid and try and put down a little bit too much power. This car is ferocious with its power, and end up sort of spinning yourself out in a very silly and embarrassing manner. This next section, flat out, 180 miles an hour. You turn into this corner, and you keep it flat out all the way around. That is the grip that you get from the Mazda. It is terrifying doing that for the first few times, but the car will stick to the road. The next corner, 208 miles an hour, you turn in, still flat out through this corner. The car gets the tiniest of twitches, but it still grips the road. Again, that is another corner where your brain just says, no, you can't do it, but the car most definitely can. Again, it's flat out all the way down this section. It can be flat out at the top of the hill. However, I will let off before we get there, just before we turn in. The car is physically capable of taking that corner flat out, but if you do, you end up out of position for the next one. So for me, I think the quicker line there, just let off a little bit before you turn in, then you can settle the car for the next corner properly. It's a little bit of a pain at the low speed corners. You get so used to the being just flat out everywhere. Trying to put the power down on some of these lower speed corners is a little bit daunting. Again, as I said, so many silly mistakes were made. Trying to put down a little bit too much power a little bit too soon. Again, we've got some more slow corners through here for the Mazda to deal with. The next one's not slow, flat out through the chicane. Again, very, very quick. A brake and a downshift, turn in for this next one. Once you've got it sorted, flat out yet again up towards the hairpin. There is another big problem with the Mazda, aside from me being a little overzealous with the throttle at times. The curbs are horrendous with this car. And the curbs are pretty brutal around Nurburgring. I've had a few problems with the normal road-going vehicles, but nothing like the problems I had with the Mazda. There are two reasons for this. First of all, the Mazda is, as you can see, very, very low. It's an incredibly low sports car, or race car I should say, so when you bump off a curb, you're going to tend to, well, you don't really bump off a curb, you hit it quite heavily. The other thing is, when you do hit a curb, you hit it at quite a lot higher speed, like an awful lot higher speed. So you're going along and you brush one of these curbs. One lap you might be okay, but you're a millimetre sort of more towards the curb, and you'll hit it at, say, 170 miles an hour, and it will throw your car across the track. And because you're going so fast, there is nothing you can do about it. And through that section, if you touch one of those curves at 200 miles an hour, it's going to throw the car around. This next corner coming up, again, flat out, about 170 miles an hour. The Mazda can take through there. Under braking into this sort of hairpin can be a little bit of a pain because of the position of the sun in Forza and the speed you are travelling, it's very easy for that one to sneak up on you and then realise you've suddenly broken far too late and sort of missed the corner. Carousel, not too bad. You've got to be, again, a little careful on the power out of the carousel. It's very bumpy down there, and in a car with this much power and this much eagerness to deliver the power, it can be a little bit trickier to brake and a downshift through this next corner. And then we get to the slightly slower section. I do mean only slightly slower. In this car, it's still incredibly quick through here. You've still got to be careful on the power delivery, but it's the curbs that really start to be a problem. You can get away with the occasional brush like that, but even then you saw I bumped the curb and the car got a bit of a slide on. You really want to avoid the curbs as much as you can. It's so easy to sort of just make a silly little error across them. It's still absolutely flying through these corners. Up next, this is why you can't brush the curb. I brushed the curb on the inside, put me out a little bit wide. I had a wheel on the curb on the exit. Tried to put the power down. We got a little sideways. There's a little bit of grass. I gathered it all up okay. That was just from one small brush on the curb. Yeah, it's it's so dangerous around here. Again, very fast through these next all corners. You've got to remember though that this is not a completely sort of amazing vehicle, in that you will have to brake for some stuff. Down here you won't. It's easy to get carried away having flown through 3 or 4 corners. You think, oh yeah, I can take more speed through this next one, when you can't. The brakes are still required on a lot of corners coming up towards the very long straights. Now again, bumps can be a little bit of a problem. Just got a tiny bit of oversteer that I can gather it back under control. It's a brake and a downshift as you turn into the first part of this corner, and then flat out through the rest of it. Carry as much speed as you can onto the long straight, and for the first time you can take a bit of a breather down here. Not the quickest car in a straight line because there is so much downforce, there's so much drag. The Mazda gets to about 208 miles an hour as we climb up the hill. In comparison, I think McLaren P1 was doing about 220 down here. As you round the corner, again, no problem, flat out for this car. The speed will pick up about 210, 212 miles an hour as we go down the other side of the hill, and you remain flat out through the chicane. And then you've got to remember to brake and bring the speed down to 60 miles an hour for the final few corners. It's a phenomenally scary lap with the Mazda. It really is. It completely boggles your mind. Going from this car to driving anything else after it, it is so fast, the Mazda. It really is. It is unbelievably quick around this track. As it turned out, I thought this challenge would be quite difficult. It really wasn't. The target time to beat was a 6 minutes 11. I did a lap time in 5 minutes 50.7. 21 seconds quicker, nearly, around the Nurburgring with this car. Yeah, it was pretty damn fast. I wanted to go quicker. Beating the record was not hard. I wanted to go quicker. I wanted to get a 5 minutes 40 or 49, but I just couldn't quite do it. Every time I'd make a silly mistake. I spent so long trying to do it that a 5 minutes 50.7 is going to be as good as I can get with this. It's annoying on that lap. If I hadn't had that slight wheel spin over a curb, I think I could have done it. But you spend so long trying to chase perfection here that I have to settle for the time. In all honesty, I think this car has too much grip around this track. I've never driven one of these, I don't know, but you're taking some of these corners at astronomical speeds that I feel surely this car couldn't do. There's a few corners here, you're flat out 180, 200 miles an hour. I really don't think the Mazda could do it. I don't think it would have the grip, and I don't think any driver would want to necessarily take them at that speed. You are a millimetre out of position. You brush a curb at 200 and it will throw you in a wall, and you will have a humongous accident. But there we go. I beat the lap time. Now, as ever with these, there is going to be the onboard footage after this, so if you want to watch it, it's there. I highly recommend you do as well. It's a terrifying lap. However, that is it from me, so I thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.